Mr. Secretary, timing is everything. I thought the applause was for me, and then I saw that you were actually the one that they were greeting and welcoming. Distinguished delegates, it's an honor to be here, and Mr. Chief Minister, Madam Chief Minister, I want to say that purposely. The chance to say Madam in front of a Chief Minister for Gujarat is for the first time, and I want to congratulate you for that privilege. प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपको मिलके फिर कुछ 3 महीने के बाद मिले हैं, फिर बड़ी खुशी हुई. I'm glad to be here. I was educated here in Ahmedabad, so I consider myself to be a product of Gujarat. And in many ways, I consider myself to be an example of Make in India, because I was made in India. I was born here. I was educated here. I worked for the first 15 years in India. And like Make in India, I then got exported. And now I've been overseas for the last 15 years. So I consider Make in India to be my story as well. And leading the USIBC delegation is a real privilege. We have more than 130 people here today. And it's the largest delegation that we have led to any event, any time in the history of the USIBC. And Mr. Prime Minister, that is not because of any reason other than the fact that the world is reawakening to the promise of India. A resurgent India is in greater reach today because of the aspirations expressed by the Indian people last year when they united overwhelmingly around a demand for change. And that demand was a demand for economic growth and development leading to jobs and for improvements in the quality of life of the Indian people, the two platforms that this Prime Minister campaigned on, development and jobs and quality of life. With that mandate has also come the hard work of governance. It's the hard work of a journey of a stronger India, of creating 1 million jobs a month for India's young people, of shoring up India's infrastructure from bridges and roads to education and healthcare in a way that leads to growth in jobs in the structures and sectors of the economy like manufacturing and tourism. I think over the past year, this government has gotten off to a very, very good start. Investors are hopeful that the success that the Prime Minister demonstrated here in Gujarat can lead to similar success for India as a whole. What they're looking for is greater clarity in the rules of the road. They want transparency in policy decisions, consistency and predictability. All of these remain mission critical for businessmen to decide where to put their money and for investors to have confidence in where to place their bets. My company, MasterCard, is placing its bets on India. In the last 1 year, we have invested over $250 million in ensuring that India becomes a key part of our global technology. More than 10% of our global workforce is now in India. And so we're placing our bets on India. But there are a number of areas that would benefit from increased clarity, and you all know them, but retroactive taxation, GST, intellectual property, land and labor laws, all these come to mind. Steps like the increased FDI limits in defense and insurance, along with the progress on trade facilitation, have all been very well received by investors. But each of these are going to need continuous attention over the next year, and 2 and 3. Increased FDIs and revised land laws are going to need legislative approval, and I believe that ordinances are outstanding because they demonstrate the determination of this government and this Prime Minister to make a change. But investors are anxious, will always be anxious to wait for those approvals to come through to ensure that they have the predictability and consistency of policy that they need. The USIBC is very keen that India and the United States strike a bilateral investment treaty at the earliest possible. It will help in the predictability and consistency that business people need. And by the way, there's work to be done on the US side as well. The 114th Congress has just assembled in the United States. They need to make sure that as they address the issue of immigration, a very big issue in the United States, it is critical they do so without creating unintended consequences for India and Indian companies. US investors want to be in India in a larger way. It's in our best interest. We bring technology, we bring capital, we bring intellectual property, we bring knowledge sharing, we bring eagerness to be a strong long-term participant and a partner for India. And as we begin to embark on this new journey together, we recognize that resurgent India will not be built in a day. but we know that time remains of the essence. India and US relations, as the Secretary will no doubt tell you, have never been in a better position than now to bridge, appropriately in the words of Mahatma Gandhi, the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here.